Hello, alright. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to only really do a code review of the code. So I haven't got my environment set up yet, so I'll set that up in the meantime. I'm going to create a pull request. I'm on Bitbucket. I'm going to create a pull request, which is what I'd like you to do each time you make a change. So here I'm doing between AM2 and master. It should be between develop. And it shows you all the details you've done, the changes you've done. Effectively converts them into one pull request. Now, Alexia has some ideas on changing some of these procedures so that the pull requests are a bit easier to review because obviously a lot of code in here. Brilliant. Okay, my microphone has been muted. Oh. Right, I'm not going to restart the video, but effectively from the top, I talked about pull requests and how pull requests need to be done each time, and I showed you how to do the pull requests above. I said the AMM HTML needs to be removed from the repo. The AMM HTML repo should not be inside this repo. So please remove all the AMM HTML out of the repo. Commented and said these need to be removed as hard-coded, so they can't be hard-coded. They need to be dynamic. Effectively, you're going to get a number of CSV files to import. This is CSV here. And number of PDFs. One line in each of these should equal one PDF. So if you have 4 CSVs with 100 lines, there should be 400 PDFs. I then commented and said these comments, assuming they're the correct C# comments, then they're fine. I also mentioned previously that obviously I'm not a C# coder, so some of these conventions are going to be unnatural to me, but I will learn. But if that's how comments are done, then that's fine. I will just say that probably searching, filtering probably doesn't need to be in there because that's going to be generic functionality across all the pages. So you can probably remove that. I then said the errors here shouldn't be repeated, so this and this. These should be extracted out into a statics file. I think even better, what I'd like is probably put into the database. So have an errors table, and an error code per one. So like an ID error code, and then an error description, and then reference the error code from there because this, either this or in a file. Repeating like this will mean we'll get inconsistent pieces. So that'll be good. The rest of this I think looks fine. You've got a parser, a process, and a repo and a result, which all looks quite nice. I was also saying at the start that we're going to have to probably start splitting these requests down. There's too much code in a single pull request, but we will work on that. Enums, fine. I will say, do we really? Is there no way we can we have to code these each time, do we? Specifically this one that comes off a database. There's no way we can use a sort of framework to pull these off so that if you add a column, you're going to have to add something here. But possibly not, I don't know. Alright, this is the global. I assume this is the global page. I'm not 100% sure what this does. Registration of object, mapping of entity, and simplified entity. I'm interested if you could explain exactly what this is doing, that would be good. It's obviously in the global page, so I'd just be interested to know. It looks like you're potentially mapping objects into the global lists, into the mapper profile, but I haven't seen them used yet, so I'd be interested to see if you could explain that to me. Alright, confirm import model, get set. If we could change this to the number of CSV files to import, that'd be good. Confirms, yeah. Data table view models. Commented code needs to be deleted. I don't like any commented code left over. If it's going to be used, cool. If it's not going to be used, get rid of it. Otherwise it just clogs up the repo. Data table Ajax post model. Can this be slightly more descriptive? Column, data, set, search for order, search, value, regex, order. A couple of comments on each of these would be good, especially if we're going to reuse this as like a generic object. More comments, a bit more detail. I'm a big believer in like big, long names. So I know you have to type them out, but the more descriptive they are, the better. So more comments, delete the commentable code, and some better descriptions around those. Alright, the references JS. This almost looks like it's pulled in from somewhere. Okay. So again, AMM HTML should not be in the repo. You pull in the files individually if you need them, but the entire AMM HTML repo shouldn't come in. Kendo, assume that's all. Is that a comment? I don't know exactly what that is. It's a bit odd. I don't know what this reference file is, so I'd be interested if you could tell me what that reference file does. Main.js, again, AMM HTML repo should not be in this thing. All this needs to be removed. please don't just copy over the repo because you know, it's going to change. It's going to change on the other side, and otherwise you're going to have to keep updating and moving it in. So we'll keep that repo separate. And if you need to, you can copy the files out. Obviously, the idea is to copy the HTML and CSS out, but you know, not to just copy the repo all the time. So this looks repeated from above. Is there any reason we have this in its own file and above in its own file? I'm not sure about that. Can you confirm exactly what's going on there? These are going to be all the models, I guess. But you've declared all the models above. Like each of these is in the comment where I said there needs to be more detail. You sort of got them and then redefine them, which is a little confusing. Okay. Database service, comments, fine. Process data table, yeah. Where search by. Is there any reason you have a hard-coded 0 here? Model.columns, model order 0 column.data, and this is set to ascending by hard coding. I'd like you to explain why this is like this. Again, it shouldn't be hard coding. It should be all dynamic, like whatever the sort that's been pulled in, it should be sorting, and it should be sorting on whatever value is sent in. It shouldn't have a hard-coded array. This will cause a bug potentially. And this should not be ascending hard-coded, so unless this is sort of some default, and if it's default, these should be declared as literals, not just put in against the code like this. Again, this is like an enum model. Like you declare them above. I'm not again 100% sure why these are duplicated from above. Looks duplicated again. Let me just open a few of these. Obviously, this pull request is a bit big. It's primarily because you copied the AMM HTML in, which, as I said, you shouldn't do. Comments, CSV parser, assuming this is the CSV parser library, switch the parser type. So if it's CSV URL, so from a CSV perspective, it's always going to be in a folder on the server. So it's never going to come from a URL. I don't know if it's considered a URL, but it'll always be in a folder on the server that the things run on. So local directory, I don't know what this is. Potentially this is the one that's on the server. This URL path, I don't really think it's going to happen. And again, for this error, can you put this into a file? So it calls like error code 7 or something like that. It doesn't just have an error code in here. Parse confirm process, if is valid, confirm local directory, parse. Again, just split this out. These are all fine. These methods are all fine. Yep. Yeah. List of confirms, a list of a mapped column, setting up all the values. Effectively just parsing in the data. I'm not 100% sure what the difference between a mapped column and a column mapper is. So again, can we get some more comments above these and a bit more descriptive names? I don't care if the names are like 10 words long, but just a nice descriptive name about what it is, what it's doing. Normalize confirm column, like this is not a word you should use. It should be more descriptive of what it's doing. But other than that, I think this looks okay. But I need to understand the difference between mapped and column. Is valid. Yeah, okay. Obviously, to do validation of CSV path, to do validation stream. I don't think if this is for the URL, I don't believe it's correct. And again, when you error here, use an error that's been declared elsewhere. Column mapper. Oh, okay, so you map the column name to the various fields. Yeah, okay, I guess this is prop value. Again, I dislike concepts of like programming names, so prop name and parser map and stuff. You know, call this like, you know, column value or something. or current column value, or CSV column value. So you can actually work out where it's come from. Prop value is properties value. It's not really a properties value, is it? So switch is on. This is actually on the CSV file itself, or the CSV line that it's on. So just be more direct and better in naming the variables so that you know exactly what they are. You can have map on the end, that's fine to denote the type, but everyone can work out it's a confirm parser map by looking where it's declared. I just want very descriptive variable names. This rubbish, like if we're not doing col confirm as part of the name, remove them from the database. I wouldn't just normalize the columns like this. So if that's on the CSV file field, what we'll do is just tell me and I'll remove it off the initial CSV. This is just a find and replace, I guess, on the string prior to normalizing them. But I'll remove that from the CSV, so we shouldn't have to need that. But for the moment, just leave them. Okay, confirm parser. So we comments good. Public double parser. Parse the string. Are you looking for a $ and removing it? Again, if this is the case, the field needs to be changed to a string. The enrichment should enrich things and validate things. So if you're doing this, this should be done in the enrichment field, not in the code. So if this is just because there's a $ in the amount, remove this, change the amount field to a string, and then we will put this as enrichment code when the code is going to happen. Same. The problem I have with this, and I've seen it loads of times, is you do this and this falls over. Try pass will fall over. It's going to have if it's not exactly right, it just falls over. I want this to be as little error as possible. So effectively string loaded in, and then once the data is in, we can look at trying to change it later once we know what it is, and we can have some safer ways to remove the values. This is very risky. This is also risky, like trying to parse commented code, remove this. But again, if these fields are not coming in as numbers for you, or you're not convinced they're going to be numbers, change them to strings. I don't care, like database size has no issue. We will do enrichment and validation on the file, on the fields. So that's fine. Generic, yep. Generic, yep. Yeah, okay, I guess it's always going to be a date, so that's fine. These two I just changed to, if you're this concerned about it, change it to string. Interface, common parser, okay, amount, maturity date. I guess. I don't know if this is, as an interface, I don't think we're ever going to implement this interface again. So this is a once-off interface, I feel. Are you more saying that maybe if we have other CSV files, that you would then make interfaces for those files? But if so, they're not going to have these fields. Like an interface is when you're going to use it more than once, right? Is this really required? I struggle to see how this interface is ever going to be implemented except on the field above, and therefore all you're doing is redeclaring the methods twice. So for me, probably not needed. Alright. What is this? Inline styles. This is a definite no-no. No inline styles, or no in-page styles. These have to go into their own CSS files. Was this you doing this important, or is this Vladimir? There shouldn't be, this is only if it's really needed, you should do importance. But first things, remove this style into its own file. This shouldn't be in this file. Number of, again, can we make this number of CSV files to import? Number of PDF confirms to process. I know I'm fairly particular on this, but they should be very descriptive pieces. This model, okay, I guess the model, yeah, that's fine. Okay, 612. This is the number to show on the page, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. What's this doing here? Is it like a plus? like a thing there. It's a bit odd. ID, runtime, run username, drop down. Oh, okay, so you haven't done the logs yet, so it's all still hard-coded. That's fine. So the logs will still need to be done as part of this page. So I'd recommend, I know you've started on another task, but this one's obviously definitely not completed. The logs aren't done, because obviously every time the process runs, it's got to write a log file. Every time the log file is written to, it should be put out in the process below. You're going to have to obviously loop over all the fields, put them out here. These should be one record per run. We're going to have to build out this list to be further. We'll build out this list, build out this list. I also think you should add additional file path for the PDFs. So CSV file path and PDF file path. Okay, and these are the modals that come up. Again, these have to be dynamic. I would also probably like these in individual files. So individual HTML files. So, you know, modal HTML, because again, you've got to think these are going to be reused, and you really want to just pass the model for the page you're in for the modal to get up. And if you've got multiple modals on the one page, when we have multiple tables, you want to be able to pass this into another page to make the modal. So for both of these, they should be split out. All right. I'm also conscious. I have I'm hoping this is being done with Bower, and there's some sort of server-side minimization going on in the CSS. I haven't really seen it. It's possibly Alexi's doing this, but yeah. What is this? What is this, and why is it referring to AML HTML? I don't know what this is, but AML HTML. Okay, I know Vladimir does this, but this needs to come out. This needs to go into its own JavaScript files. And the modals need to be cleaned up so that we can use them. So obviously he's doing the coding in the case that he's just getting it to work, right? We need to make it so that when we add on to new things, we can reuse them. He's obviously saving a lot of time, but you know these need to come out. Again, yeah, Bower should be doing a lot of this stuff. This really hasn't been set up the way I'd like it. It's got to be more. What is this? Why does it say direct client? They shouldn't say HTML. This shouldn't say direct client. There's lots to do here. Look, main things here are take the JS out to its own file, put them in with the modal windows. A lot of this stuff should be done via Bower. I'm not actually going to review all this because there's way too many changes to be done to that file. So we'll have a look. JPEG, config. Let's open a few of these at once. Okay, is this entity framework, all these upgrades, are they necessarily needed? So Kendo being removed, fine. These entity framework, is that actually required? I'm only conscious because I need to take this out, but let me know. Obviously that M2. Okay. Okay, a few things. Can we make the folder structure a bit better? It really should be Confirminator, and then inside the Confirminator folder have these folders. So there's one nice folder for the Confirminator. I'm not 100% sure what this does. It'd be interesting if you let me know. Some mapping, I'm not 100% sure what they do. Again, fix the folder structure up a bit. Okay, I'm not really sure what that does. I'm not sure what that does. Do we really have to add all of these every time into all these files, or does it automatically get written in here? I'm not really sure. You have to explain it to me. What are you doing here? This. Did you change this? Interesting. That looks like a stored procedure of the existing code base. I'm not sure why you'd be changing that. Please check this file. I don't know if this file should have changed. This looks like a reformatting issue. Again, something that's remote, like particular to you, shouldn't be updated. So your name shouldn't appear in the repo. This needs to be changed. This file should not get pushed. This looks like a log view. This log should not be getting pushed, I don't believe. Well, if so, yeah, like if this is a log file, it shouldn't be getting pushed. I'm not 100% sure what this file is. It'd be interesting to explain it to me, but this error file should not be getting pushed if this has sort of got your details on it. Unless, what is this? Is this all the SQL? Is this all the SQL? Well, that's fine, but this log stuff can't be in here. Quite a big change, isn't it? Okay. Thinking. Okay, this will be just a UI in the IDE. Okay, this is the definition of the table. Yes, that's effectively the model. Don't know if you want to put that as confirm model, confirm. Obviously I'm saying confirm should be the root folder, and then, oh, so it's in the entity folder, entity, confirm. Okay, yeah. Repository, so you've got comments, fine. Okay, database help from the post action request from a data table. These parameters are coming from a database request. These will be able to sort pattern every other server transaction. Delete it then. If there's commented, delete it. Okay, I think I'll allow this. It's fine. Let's confirm account name in here. It's almost like it's hard coded. It shouldn't be hard coded. Again, an interface. Like, why are we interfacing models or entities? I don't quite understand. Like, we would never implement a model again. It's the model is the model. Is there any reason you're interfacing the entity? Something you can let me know? Confirm interface again. It's got like, it's effectively like a constructor method. Like, it's got nothing in it. Like, the reason you use an interface is so if it's implemented multiple times that you force people to use various methods. But here it doesn't seem like it has much for use. It's got one method that's blank. It's just not, you know. Okay, the log, fine. The repository, yeah, this, fine. Wow, you're definitely have to start splitting these pull requests up. I know you've done multiple commits, but we're going to have to start looking at how we can, when you do your commits or your pull requests, you start looking at doing like, you know, UI changes in one or a database changes in one, just so the person reviewing it has an actual chance of picking any bugs up. Okay, another interface. I really just don't know about these interfaces because honestly, what are they like? Unless you're going to describe to me what they're actually achieving, they're only ever going to be implemented once. So if you're implementing an interface once, what is it achieving for you? The log detail. Is there not more fields on it? But yeah, okay, it's the model or the entity, that's fine. Yeah, again, interfaces. There's a lot of cookie cutter code you're having to write here, which is not great. I hope a lot of this is generated for you. Like, I hope you're not writing all this out and hoping the IDE is actually generating all this for you, because it really should once it has the database. The idea being you set the database table up, and then the IDE should generate a lot of this stuff for you automatically. So my computer's really struggling. Google Chrome, killing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All the same comments. Just I think they're all fine. Remember, descriptive variables, interfaces, are they really needed, etc. Okay. Especially in the interface, if you're going to do interfaces like this, make sure you do comments and explain what they are, so when people need to come implement them, they can actually see what they're doing. Like this sort of filtered results count, total results count, these are good variable names. Sort direction, just write sort direction, the full name. What is this? iRepo. What is this for? What does this do? Much further have I got to go? Not far. Okay. Let's open all these up. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, what's here? Alright, entity repo. Entity sets. Is this generic entity work? Are we actually using this? So if you pass in an entity, say you pass in the confirm table, would it actually do these deletes? So if you passed in an ID, how's it going to know which table to go to? Get object to delete. On which table? Is that because it's inherited? Is it going to inherit? Is it going to inherit the model to know which table to do? Because if so, you've already written these non-generic. I do like the genericness of this, but a little bit more explanation on what all this does would be good. Don't understand what this is. Explanation on that would be good. Explanation on this would be good. All this mapper stuff, I really don't know what's going on with all this mapper stuff. It's auto mapper. So I'm guessing it's got to be something to do with like mapping objects to database tables or vice versa. But you did all that manually anyway, so I'd be interested to know if you tried it and then tried to build it more generic. And if so, it should be more consistent in the code about what's going on. Did you add these? This just really looks like code is like I would expect the other IT company to write. Maybe it generated off the database automatically. If so, you might want to ignore this. So generated from a template. So this is just the table. Again though, these are almost the same as the entities above. It's like repeated code. So all the entities. Okay. So look, there's loads there to fix. I think the best thing to do is if you can just watch the video through, make a lot of changes, make some comments for me, clean up variable names, remove AML, HTML, make it a bit more clear as to why each file is added. It'd be good if you can review your commits before you commit them, just to make sure it's nice and clean. We want to try and make this simple and easy so we don't go off track straight away. I'd also recommend you stop work on the enrichment piece. There's still a lot of work to do in here. Filters aren't working, the modals aren't working, and I know you wanted to work on them this afternoon, but I wouldn't get it confused up with another one. Just concentrate on this single task and work through all the fixes. I want to get the page nice and neat and clean, all the functionality working, and that means that this can be the base for the rest of the pages. From the pull request piece, I'm going to delete this pull request now so that it is not required. But I said the idea is that at the end of the day, everyone should have a pull request, but this is too big. It's too big because you put AMM HTML in. I actually don't think if you didn't pull it in, it'd be too big. But you know, just don't pull that repo in. As each file, so the HTML file into the CS HTML file, fine. The CSS files across, fine. But not just copy paste the whole repo into a folder of its own like this. And any of the libraries that are used over there need to be put into the Bower directory, so it's pulled in automatically with various versions. Yes, I understand it's a pain, but it's what you would have to do anyway if it was set up. Alright, so I'm going to leave it there. Any questions, ask away. But yeah, I think the big thing here is please don't start on the other work, AMM 13 or 14, whatever it is, because we need to, one task at a time. We'll finish this one off, make it nice and clean, we'll go from there. Other than that, I think relatively good work. It looks like we've got the table set up. We've got the CSV file importing by the look of it. There's obviously a lot of framework code you have to write for this change, and I'm hoping it can be reused in the future. So any questions, just ask. Cheers.